So is this all we have today, Wendy? We're good?
We are good. Yes, this is everybody for today.
1 second. Okay, you are now live.
Thanks, Tammy.
Kelly, just before you get started, I just wanted to introduce everybody to Ashley. Ashley will be helping us out at our meetings, given Andrea not being with us anymore. So she'll turn off her camera during the meetings, but I just wanted to welcome her and thank her for her assistance and introduce her to the committee.
Everyone.
Ashley.
Hi.
Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll be there and hidden, and we'll call for you if we need you, but thank you very much. That's great. Good. Welcome, everybody. Just do like a land acknowledgement to get the meeting going. We acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people. The Anishinaabe include the Odawa, the Ojibwe, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Thanks, Wendy, for that summary of what we captured. I think we captured what I was thinking about. I wanted to just review with people to make sure that we have summarized correctly. And I'm just going to read it over. A package for council describing the position, salary, and expectations, the updated benefits package, and additional compensation for members of council, approximately 5K. I seem to think there was a 5%, Steve. I'm not sure if it was actually 5K. And I also wanted to add the understanding or the beginning of the conversation about the extra fees that are collected by the city for members of council that are sitting on their respective boards, whether that be the Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority or the Police Services Board. So I think we did get a listing of that, of what the compensation that was reviewed as well. So I think that was also part of the conversation. Steve, I know you had mentioned a couple of things. I just wanted to make sure that that got in there as well. Is that?
Yeah, that's everything. And even like I said, the 5,000, if that was, people found that if that was too much, then I'm certainly agreeable to like even to the rate of inflation, like 2% or because the Bank of Canada has come out and targeted 2% as they're going to try and hold inflation rate at over the next year, yeah, for a while anyhow. So if that's a target goal everybody's happy with, I'd certainly recommend even around that range.
Right. Okay. Does anybody else have any thoughts or comments on what we've discussed so far? Brian, do you have an update on your work with the consulting company that is reviewing the additional or change in benefit?
Yeah, so the committee had asked me to look at options and cost them out. I just got an email on Monday about it from the consultant. I have a meeting on this Friday with her about to just go over the options, understand them, and then I can pass that along. So I have the preliminary information, and for sure by next meeting I'll be able to walk everyone through that.
Okay, that would be great. Good. Did anybody have an opportunity to review the Excel sheet? Thank you, Wendy, also for forwarding the updated Excel sheet, including the City of Kingston. And as I understand it, those numbers reflected on those sheets are the current numbers, not the ones that they're potentially going to be increasing. So that's the current, as is the reflection of the one for the City of Barrie. I'm going to jump in just for a second because I had a comment. I wanted to know, and I might have missed it, but what is the extra pay for Deputy Mayor of the City of Barrie? I don't know if I saw it on the chart.
No, that's my fault. I didn't include it. It's $5,000.
Okay. Thank you. That was all the comment I had on that sheet, other than thought I might throw something else out there in a sense of compensation. I looked at, there's only one organization that offers an admin assistant support person for the council. And I'm wondering if that was something that would be helpful to support the council moving forward.
I think that was at Sudbury. They had two assistants. Yeah.
Two full-time, yeah.
Is that a big concern of the counselors? And
It was not mentioned, but I thought as a, as a benefit support perk that, what's your thought, Wendy?
Members of council have not asked for specific admin support. They get some admin support through our team in the legislative services office. The mayor's office also assists them with some admin support. Like if somebody wants a certificate for an opening of a new business, the mayor's office will kind of do that stuff for them. Any research or anything is generally done by myself or the deputy clerk when we have one, or our team, or they just reach out to the departments individually. They don't have an office space here at City Hall either. For like, they have a lounge with a computer and a printer in it. And so they've never asked for any admin support as of now. And any of their, like when they go on holidays, they'll put their calls through Serviceberry, and then Serviceberry will dispatch them, or they'll use us as their out of office assistant, and we just forward resident inquiries to the appropriate department. So it's not terrible. It would never warrant a full-time person at this point for them. Maybe if they ever became full-time counselors at that point, they may want to look at some admin support, but at this point, I think we're able to manage it.
I would think probably then, if we had the money even for part-time assistants, it'd be better to take that whatever amount of money and put it towards enhancing their benefits, or do something that kind of directly, I don't want to say put money in their pocket, but it benefits them in their current position.
Right. Yeah, that's a good plan. So does anybody else have any comments?
I personally was surprised that Sudbury is bigger than Barrie. I don't know why I thought it was a smaller city, because I was looking at the compensation and I just wanted to get the population from each. So I was actually surprised.
Yeah, Sudbury is a huge geographical area. If you drive up that way and you see the signs on the highway, until you actually
I just didn't realize.
Get to their city hall, it's like you're 30-40 kilometers down the road, right?
Yeah. So yeah, they haven't got us beat by a lot, but
no.
Yeah, but I noticed like you said, Kelly, they have two full-time assistants. The compensation is definitely higher. The benefits are a little better, etc. So I was like, oh, but then when I checked the population, at least the most recent census, it was higher. So
yeah,
I was just actually surprised though about the difference.
Yeah, kind of makes sense.
Kelly, could that have been when they were a regional government, and then when they restructured, then it became the greater city of Sudbury, that those people that were those responsibilities that were at the regional level were downloaded to the city, and maybe they kept those personnel on? I was wondering if that was something.
Yeah, it was quite large. Yeah, definitely noticed that one. I want to go back to the point about the reimbursements going back to the counselors around whatever meetings that they're getting reimbursed for, as well as looking at an opportunity to compensate counselors for acting or for being chairs of committees. I'd like to talk about that. If I'm not sure how you guys are feeling about that.
Well, because right now the money goes back to the city, correct?
Mhm.
And I mean, I know that the city counts on all money, but does the city count? Like, I don't think, I remember from the past emails, I don't think it's a massive amount or anything. So it's not like if we turned around and even did a 50-50 split with the counselors, some comes back to them and some comes back to the city. We're not going to decimate the city budget by, you know, giving back a bit to counselors.
Mhm. I just thought it made sense if, you know, we were collecting money for their participation in those offsite or outside of the city work that they're doing, the good work they're doing, that it might make sense to directly make those payments back to those particular counselors that are sitting on those committees, or at least into a general pool that gets distributed back, and they can, you know, share that pot, or perhaps it's to help pay for the folks that are chairing committees as a bigger role.
Kelly, I have a question for Wendy. Wendy, when people go out, when counselors go out and represent the city at a function, whether it be a business opening or whatever, if the mayor is not there, is that included in their current salary? Do they get extra pay for attending things representing the city?
No, that's part of their current salary.
That's part of their.
The only member of council that gets an additional salary is the deputy mayor, because if the mayor is not available to attend an event, it automatically, he would be the next in line to be invited to go. Sometimes if it's something's happening in Ward 2, for instance, maybe the Ward 2 councillor will come in addition to the mayor or deputy mayor. But generally, if they want a figurehead of council, they would always have the mayor or the deputy mayor there. That's why the deputy mayor gets the extra $5,000, because he's really the mayor's right-hand person.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that. I just wanted to add something. When we're talking about the compensation splitting from the other committees, like from the health unit or from the conservation authorities, the reason that it was it's not being paid to the members of council, I got a bit of history on it, was that it provides some kind of an equity between members of council when they're applying for the committee. So you'll have all these members of council or potential people wanting to potentially sit on the committees because they get paid for them, but then the other ones you don't get paid for, you may not have the want or the need for the participation. So, and it was just an equity factor too, because some members of council would be getting paid to sit on committees, whereas others would not. And it would just be the nature of the committee that they're sitting on, because some pay and some don't. So you might want to look at it from that perspective as well, because I think all committee work is important, but all committees don't get paid, whether their work is important or not. So
I was actually looking at the spreadsheet, and many of the other wards or the cities, they don't pay for this, or they get paid in honorarium. So in just further to what Wendy said, like maybe that is, instead of all of the money coming back to you, pick a flat amount and say you'll get paid $100 or whatever it might be.
Do you mean per meeting, Danielle? Is that what you mean? Like a per?
Yeah, I mean, it would depend on how much the city is getting paid. Like, we would never want to pay over the amount of what the city is getting paid, but work at whatever a reasonable amount would be. And I don't know how that funding happens. So if we receive, $10,000 a year for various meetings and attendance, then we would need to make sure that we were not paying out over more than $10,000 a year to our counselors.
Right.
But that might be just to create some equity, regardless of whether the city gets $0 or $1,000, maybe everyone just gets $100. And you add up everything and making sure that you can afford $100 per meeting, because there will be some that pay a lot more and then some that will pay nothing. But can you afford to give them $100 per meeting? I don't know, to create to hopefully avoid the issue that Wendy was talking about.
Mhm, mhm. But there's
And
no
there's no, and
requirement.
there's, oh, sorry.
No,
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say, no, there'd be no potentially clamoring for, better committees or, ones that pay more, or ones that pay less, or, yeah, it
Right.
would be, everyone knows.
And Wendy, just to clarify again, there's no requirement for attendance for committees. And I do believe that you mentioned last time that there was I don't know, it was a policy or a motion regarding attendance and how that is required as a counselor that is appointed. Because I believe these committees, as you said, are appointed by the mayor. So every counselor gets appointed. They don't really get to go on without getting an appointment to that particular committee. And if there is a requirement for attendance, and what does that mean if they don't show up, 3 committees in a row and they're not attending?
So appointment is probably, the mayor doesn't necessarily appoint them because council as a body ends up appointing the members of the committees. The mayor, at the beginning of the term, the mayor speaks to all of the newly elected councilors and, gauges their interest, their expertise, and to see what kind of committees they would be wanting to sit on. So if there's somebody who's an expert in art, they may want to sit on the art committee. Or if their interest is, like if they're a doctor, they might want to sit on the health board. So there's different ways. The mayor sits and meets with each member individually, the current mayor does. That's his practice. I don't know if somebody else ever came in, whatever, but the current practice is that the mayor meets with each member of council, gauges their interest on what committees they'd like to sit on. Then him and I sit down, we make a list, and then that list of appointments goes for approval of council, because all committee appointments are approved by council as a body, not by just the mayor. So, and I can't remember the other part of your question now that
It was attendance.
the attendance, yes, sorry. So the attendance in our procedural bylaw, there's a 3 meeting rule. So if a member of council or a member of the public that's on the committee misses 3 meetings in a row, we contact them A1 to make sure that they're okay, that there's no issues. And then they can, if there's no issues and they start attending, then we just kind of let it ride. If not, then the committee could remove them from the committee, and then we can appoint somebody else. So basically that's the rule. And we haven't had to do that this term. We haven't had to remove anybody from a committee meeting. The other thing is it's without permission. So I should specify that. So if somebody is ill and they're going to have some surgery and they're going to miss 4 meetings, for instance, they can just advise the committee, hey, I'm having some surgery. I need to be away from the committee for 4 months. So please don't remove me, so to speak. And the committee can give permission in that aspect. Being on Zoom has allowed a bit more flexibility for when things like that happen, because people can participate remotely and they don't actually physically have to come to City Hall right now. So that's another reason why we've not had probably issues with committee attendance, because Zoom has provided a whole new realm of flexibility for attending committee meetings.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. Chris?
I was just wondering, from all of the compensation that has been paid to the city for those councillors to sit in on, do we have an idea what the city has collected over the 2021 or even 2020? In that regard, is it 10,000, 50,000? What has the city picked up?
It's $3,433 for 2020, according to the spreadsheet. I think that's the number.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of like what Danielle was mentioning with regards to maybe pool it all together and then divide it out. Maybe take 50% for the city and the other 50% divided equally amongst the councillors and go about it that route. I kind of like that idea. Therefore, I would treat it more like a bonus at the end of the year that, hey, we picked up this much and 50% goes to the city and the other 50% divided by all the councillors. Here you go. Here's a nice little bonus check at Christmas time. Because I
Yes,
think, go ahead.
it'd be like $175.
Yeah, sure. It's a bonus.
Yeah, yeah.
Some money's better than no money.
No, I totally agree.
It's not much, but if somebody wants to, give a
Yeah.
counselor $175 at the end of the year saying,
Yeah,
hey, thanks for doing a good
Or
job.
we could just add it in because we kind of know every year what you're going to collect or what you're going to get. So if it's, an extra $200 that goes on their pay for committee work or something based on what we're taking in.
Yeah, that works.
I'm creating, I can, my accounting and finance brain's going, oh, how would we do that? Payroll is like, that sounds really complicated. So I don't know if we could just top it up and say, hey, we recommend that, the counselor's salary gets increased, cost of living, 2.5%, plus this additional, $200 that the city is collecting already. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know.
Well, that old saying, $200 is still $200, right?
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. Maybe instead of an amount, we say that, right? That if the city is paid for your time sitting on committees or on council, different things, we will collect fees, and at the end of the year, the city will keep 50% and the rest will be dispersed. We expect this to be in the amount of $150 to $200 or something, that.
Mhm.
But fees may go up and down depending. I don't know if it's been $3,500 for the last 10 years or whether we've seen some fluctuations, but maybe we just say that, and they don't think they're getting a cash windfall, but we're still
Right.
recognizing that we'd like to share, given the fact that it's their time and effort that is being done on these committees.
And then we tell them it's taxable.
Maybe we should buy them $150 in gift cards.
There you go. Tim Hortons cards.
But actually, no, it's still taxable, right? Yeah.
Daniel, you raise an excellent point in that, and that way, when they go to vote on whatever they decide to vote on their compensation at a council meeting, it's easier to sell it in front of the taxpayer too, by saying, well, it's only $150 or $200 a year. They're not getting a windfall of 5,000 or 10,000 each, right? And that's much easier as a taxpayer to swallow that.
And it's funded, right? Like we're
Yep.
not promising everyone
Yes.
200 across the
Yep.
board every single year when we may only collect $100.
Yep.
We're funding this pot with what we receive, and then we will divvy up the 50% at the end of the year as a honorarium for their time and effort spent on different councils and committees.
And some of them might chair those committees, which takes a little more
Yeah.
effort.
Yeah.
But it's not based on number of committees. Melissa, I see you.
I would just maybe caution that the pay is based on the council members that are appointed to these committees attending. So if somebody isn't going to the meetings, it's possible other people, they know that this pot is being funded by them attending those meetings. And I don't know, it could just be like a point of contention amongst council.
You could always say, attendance will be taken into account when determining, the
Distribution.
the distribution, right?
Yeah.
So
I
yes.
don't. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, so, but say like in this case, I'm looking at the spreadsheet I sent out, there's only like 5 counselors that sit on these committees that earn money, and the rest of them don't. So if like there may be pressure on these counselors to go to these meetings to get the funding, and just sort of thinking about it like that, and also the administrative side of it.
Yes, Wendy.
Personalities.
Just to build on Melissa's point, not this past term, but the previous term of council, the attendance at those external boards, some of them was very, very poor. So we probably wouldn't even have gotten the full year compensation for them. So I agree with the caution that Melissa is putting forward, because we've been in that situation before where there have the members never attended those meetings, and so there was no funds to be distributed.
Is there any, and I know, like, in terms of if they don't attend for three times, that, you know, you speak to them and, hey, what's going on? Is there any, like, I don't want to say disciplinary action, but like, is, like, I mean, you can speak to somebody, hey, you know, I think about my kids. Hang up your coat, hang up your coat, hang up your coat. And I can say that every single day, and every single day they're going to drop it on the floor. But until I say either you hang up your coat, or I'm taking away your phone or your computer or whatever, they're like, oh, okay, I guess I better hang up my coat. Is there any, and I don't mean this meanly, but is there any follow through in terms of people who have signed up for committees and who are not attending and participating? Like, is there any, I don't know what you can do, but.
As I said, we really haven't had that situation this term. And I mentioned, like, the Zoom has probably really been helpful with that, because people can participate from anywhere. Like, if you,
Right.
so there has not been that issue. And the 3 meeting rule only came into effect this term. We didn't have it the last term. So realistically, we don't know what would happen once in-person comes back into play. I don't think there was any issues with the members attending those external committees even before the pandemic. So I don't foresee, if we go back in person for the remainder of the term at some point, that it'd be an issue again. But looking ahead next term, I tend to agree with Melissa that we don't know if they'll attend, and we can give the 3 meeting rule. We can take them off the committee if they don't attend, but who says the next person that we appoint doesn't do the same thing? So that's the caution we can give you as staff.
So do you think it would incent somebody to attend if they knew that they were getting remuneration more so, or not?
I'm not sure. Like, I can't, like, because a lot, like, right now there's only like a handful of the committees that actually pay for the membership, and the other committees that people are strictly volunteering on, we have members of council that have perfect attendance on them. So I can't say whether or not money is incentive. A lot of people, like most members of council, like the majority or all of them, do take their role seriously, and they do attend the meetings. I mean, obviously there will be times where they have to be absent for a various reason from a meeting, but regardless if it's a paid committee or not, a member of council takes on their role, they take on their oath, and participating in these committees, paid or not, is part of their role as being a member of council. So, and a lot of them, you know, as I said, they all take it very seriously, and they attend whether they're paid or not.
I guess you could always create like a hard and fast rule that says anyone who misses has 3 or more inexcusable, or, you know, whatever, you know, unexplained absences, I guess, will not be eligible to participate at the end of year pot sharing. Or anyone who is removed from a committee as a result of poor attendance will not be able to participate in pot sharing.
It's a
Like,
policy, right?
Yeah, and I mean, given that most people are very good and attend and everything like that, it hopefully won't be a big issue. But you know, if it is, then they won't get the $200 or what it is at the end of the year. Anyway, just I don't want to create an administrative nightmare or anything like that, but it would be a shame if we couldn't get the money to the counselors because of administration, right? Like, I agree that we don't want to have it be, a big, massive, complicated spreadsheet that people have to sign in and out of for their attendance, but hopefully we should be able to come up with a policy that would make it straightforward and still reward the right people.
Mhm.
Kelly, would it be a problem for the members of council that sit on, I'm just trying to think of the real heavy committees, like planning committee, building and, I forget what it's called, building and services or something, when they look at new projects for
It's
construction.
planning and build, yeah,
Planning, yeah,
building,
and
yeah,
finance committee
finance.
versus somebody that sits on, I'm going to use the health board. They only meet once a month. Okay. And it's just for a couple hours. So
Mhm.
where at least on the other ones, at least I haven't seen them on TV, but they've talked several times at council. Well, tomorrow night we got planning and building meeting. And some of those meetings are going on well till, Wendy, correct me if I'm wrong, 11, 12 o'clock at night. Would that be right? Some of these planning meetings?
Mhm.
And they're logging a lot of hours on that, because it's very dry material. You're sitting there and it's the next zoning application, the next zoning application that keeps coming. I just wondered, would they be looking to get more compensation than the person that only sits on a 2-hour meeting once a month?
Mhm.
I just want to clarify something. All members of council sit on planning committee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a standing committee, so all members of council sit on planning committee.
Okay.
With respect to the reference committees, the city building and the finance and corporate services committee, it's divided basically in half. So half the members of council sit on city building and half the members of council sit on finance and corporate services committee. So with the mayor as an ex officio member of both of them. So he participates and he can count towards quorum and all that stuff for those committee meetings. So it's not like a member of council's being disenfranchised, so to speak, by their participation on city building, because another member of council is sitting on finance.
Okay.
So
I
they're
wasn't aware of
divided
that.
in, yeah. So they're divided in half that way. So, and then the other boards and commissions are just handed out, as I said, through conversations with the mayor. And if there's replacements through the term, that's through conversations with the mayor and then appointment by council.
So is it a requirement for the counselors to sit either on building or planning? So it's a requirement of the role, Wendy?
Okay, so planning, all members of council sit on it. So it is a requirement.
Yeah.
I'll kind of go through quickly the committee structure. We have city council, members of council, of course. Then we have general committee and planning committee, which are both standing committees. All members of council sit on both of those committees. Then going down, we have the reference committees, which is finance and corporate services and city building. Those have 5 members of council each on each of those committees. One member does not sit on both committees, so they're split pretty evenly. Obviously, sorry, they are split evenly, with the mayor participating on both committees. And then we have the advisory committees, where you might have definitely 1 to 2 members of council on each of the advisory committees. And those ones meet once a month. Some meet, some don't meet as often right now because of the pandemic. Mostly in a non-pandemic time, the advisory committees would meet once a month. They don't meet in the summer, and some of them don't meet in December, given that we only have like a 2-week meeting cycle or 1 meeting cycle basically in December. So, and because of Christmas. So generally they're meeting 9 months. Those committees are meeting 9 months a year. And then some of the other committees, they may not meet monthly. I might have to go through, I'm not versed off the top of my head about how often the other boards and commissions meet, but some of them don't meet monthly. Some of them may meet like every 2 months, quarterly. So I can try and pull a list together for the next meeting, but basically each member of council, as I said before, discusses with the mayor their availability, what they would like to sit on. Then all those committee appointments get approved by council. But there is those that core group of committees that have the kind of full and half council participation.
And do those meet weekly, Wendy?
So council, basically they meet every Monday night as either council or general committee.
Yes.
Planning committee is either once or twice a month, and that's on Tuesday nights. And then what we've done is to kind of alleviate extra meeting nights, so to speak, during the week, we put like Finance and Corporate Services Committee or City Building Committee starting at 5 or 6 o'clock, and then have planning start at 7. So the members of council, half of them are already here for when the planning committee starts, and then the rest of them join. Now, saying that, just because you're not a member of a city building committee or a finance and corporate services committee meeting or a committee, you can still attend those meetings as a member of council. You just can't vote. So if you have a topic of interest on those committees, like there's members of council, they attend each other's meetings. So even though they don't have to, some of them do, depending on what the topic may be at the meeting.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Wendy. Thank you. Yeah, Chris.
If I may roll back the film just a little bit here, Wendy gave us a great overview of how the structure is. But at the present time, Wendy, you mentioned they're doing all of this at no pay, really, at no bonus for anything. We're discussing whether we should give them some of the compensation from what has been brought in instead of the city holding it all. So instead of maybe going down the rabbit hole so deeply, I like to keep it just simple. As Danielle had pointed out, we collect all the money, and at the end of the year, we divide up half of it, and it gets disseminated as a bonus. If they sit on committees that don't pay, then they're in essence getting paid to sit on those committees, even though the money might be coming from a different source. I don't want to really go down the rabbit hole too deep with this. It should be just something simple, because at the present time, they're doing all of this work, as Wendy had already mentioned, and they're not being compensated for it at all. We as the compensation committee are looking for opportunities to put a few more extra dollars in the councilors' pockets for something that they're not getting paid for. So if we said no compensation and the city still gets it all, the councilors are still going to be sitting on these committees free of charge, doing what they're doing, whether they attend, they don't attend, and all that sort of stuff. Let's try to look at the city councilors as a team, and they all have to work as a team for their bonus at the end of the year, and it's spread out equally. I don't know if we really need to go down the rabbit hole too deep in this. And like I said, I really like what Danielle had mentioned. Just whatever comes in goes into a pooled fund. Half of it goes to the city, half goes to the councilors equally, and that's it. And just keep it simple. It's something that it's a bonus at the end of the year for doing a great job, doing something for their city and sitting in on. So
Yeah.
my 2 cents from the cheap seats. That's
No,
about
that's
all.
good, Chris. And it's not taxpayers' dollars. It's actually coming from an external source. So we're not taking it out of any kind of fund other than the one that we're collecting from.
Just treat it as a bonus. That's all.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think we're all in line with that.
Yep.
As a recommendation. Again, this is what we're here for, right? Is to make recommendations, and council will be the one that will be making the decision based on our recommendations, whether they agree or whether they don't. I think, when I saw that those funds come in, I always thought that they were headed back to the councillors that sat on those committees. So, and they're not, they're just going into general revenue. So as you say, Chris, I think, and Danielle, he pointed out. Steve, are you?
Yeah, I just wanted to even take it a little bit further, Kelly, if we could just put on the recommendation that there'd be a emphasis put on, this is not taxpayer funded money. This is extra money that's being collected. So that should really help smooth the waters politically.
Agreed. Yeah. So if we could make that as one of our agreed upon recommendations coming out of this committee, that's definitely one of them. Those funds that are collected from various organizations, whether they be conservation authorities or the county, we recommend that half of that fund gets distributed to all of council at the end of the year once they've been collected. Is that the
I
gist of
second
it?
that.
Yes, okay,
I'll second that.
thank you. Good, all right, so that's one of the recommendations. I guess the other, if we are in agreement, or we want to have a little more conversation around the base salary compensation role, which we talked about, whether that was 5K or whether that was 2.5% based on inflation, and aligned with non-union increases. That's something we want to talk about. Steve?
Yeah, I think that I'm the more I thought about it after reading the material and that, I think, yeah, 2.5% is very equitable increase, and again aligned with whatever the union or non-union personnel would get in their labor discussions coming up over the next 3 or 4 years.
Okay. Anybody have any comments? Anybody disagree?
I'm still
Agree?
analyzing the data.
Okay.
I haven't made any conclusions yet, so I'm still
Okay.
compiling the
That's okay.
spreadsheet.
No, this is all conversation. It's all good. It's all good. And then I had, so Wendy, that extra $5,000 for deputy mayor, how is the deputy mayor appointed?
So the deputy mayor is recommended to council by the mayor. So for example, so at the beginning of the last council term was the first time we've actually had a deputy mayor. We used to have a monthly mayor, so we'd have a bylaw to appoint a member of council as an acting mayor every month. But then we implemented the deputy mayor position. So there's different ways of doing a deputy mayor position. There's an elected one, there's an appointed one. It's too late to deal with the elected one now because of the Municipal Elections Act, and that's another bailiwick. But basically what it is that Mayor Lehman, he recommended Deputy Mayor Ward to be deputy mayor for the term. It was actually split. It was supposed to be split actually during the term because Doug Shipley was supposed to be the deputy mayor for the last half of the term, but then he resigned because he got into the MP position. So then Mayor Lehman just kept Deputy Mayor Ward on for the remainder of the term as deputy mayor, and that was all approved by council. So it was done at the beginning of the council term in a staff report that I wrote for the mayor.
And have we defined, I guess, a policy or a new policy moving forward for the next term, how that's going to be assigned?
It would be the same process unless somebody changes it. But I think that's more of, I mean, you can make a recommendation to council, but basically it would be the same process that the mayor of the day would make a recommendation to council on who would be the deputy mayor. And it could be, again, full term, half term. You could have one every year. Like, it would be up to the mayor at the time of election, like once they're elected, to whom and how they would want the deputy mayor position allocated.
Okay, so there's no real specific policy that, okay, because it is more money. It is $5,000, right? So yes, Steve.
That's right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was saying in advance of the next meeting, I could send you the staff report that approved the deputy mayor position and some of the rationale behind it, if that's helpful.
Is it possible that this committee can make a recommendation back that the deputy mayor's position, instead of being whoever's in the grace of the mayor at that time, they could be buddies or whatever getting appointed, the councillor with the highest votes elected by the public to become deputy mayor? Would that work?
But wouldn't that also, and I'm asking, because would that number be skewed by the number of residents in that?
Yeah, in each
Ward.
ward, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, I guess,
You would have to do a
however,
weighted average on that.
Yeah.
you'd have to do percentage of votes, right?
Yeah.
But again, that could also be problematic because there could be 10, people in one ward and there could be one in another ward.
Yeah.
So the person might
Yeah.
get 100% of the votes. Or, I mean, is there, and Wendy, I know that you're going to send the information. So, sometimes in these cases, there's like a predefined criteria as to who can be the deputy mayor. And, you must not be a first term and I'm not saying that this should be it, but, you can't be first term counselor. You need to, have this, and this, or, and, almost like a job description, like we were talking about for the counselors, to give them advanced knowledge as to what they're getting, what they're getting in for.
Well,
And in terms of like applying as well, like, could 3 counselors apply for the deputy mayor position and then it's voted on?
I'm not sure how Mayor Lehman approached it, but I will say that the 2 members that were appointed were the longest serving members of council. So they did have some experience, and because really some of the point of a deputy mayor position, you might just want to take this, is that they're there to also mentor the newer members of council, because they've been through the ringers, they've been through, the war, so to speak, and they're there to provide, some guidance on, especially if you're a fresh new person coming in. The intent is that the deputy mayor role is, to provide that guidance and assistance to the members of council, which Deputy Mayor Ward, being the longest serving member on council, even outside of the current mayor, has provided to some of the new members of council. And just in speaking with some of the members of council, they value that. Like, they value that experience. I'll pull up the staff report. I can't remember because it's been 4 years since we wrote the staff report, or 5 years since I wrote that staff report, but I can't remember if there was any defining to whether or not it had to be like somebody that it wasn't their first term. But basically, those are probably some of the, I can't speak for Mayor Lehman, of course, but those are probably some of the things that he probably looked at when he appointed a deputy mayor, was some experience, because that's helpful in that role for sure. But you can make recommendations for sure, because the deputy mayor, it's $5,000. That's part of their compensation for their role. So, I mean, if you want to make some recommendations to council on that of course you can do so.
Yeah, I mean, I think to further to Steve's point is that to reduce any perception of favoritism, and I'm not saying that Mayor Lehman chose somebody who would say yes to him all the time. I'm not suggesting that, but to remove any perception of favoritism, it may be good to have kind of predefined criteria for the deputy mayor position, so that everyone across the board knows whether they are eligible to be the deputy mayor or not. And and if that is a position that they so desire in the future, what are the things that they need to do or gain experience in to become that deputy mayor position, which is kind of nice. It motivates people to maybe go above and beyond and attend every single committee meeting that they have. So I mean, I understand longest standing counselors, which are good, but maybe that shouldn't be the only criteria.
I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to allude that was the only criteria.
Oh no,
it just happened to be like that. That's who's in the position now.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Danielle. And I think one of the other items, and this kind of aligns with it, when we are talking about having a really clear job description and roles and responsibilities for incoming counselors, or even for people that, when they get a package and there's a 1-page that says, well, you know what, here's what you're getting into. You've got 3 planning committee meetings a month, or, these are the criteria around this particular role of council. And it also ties into being really clear and upfront about a role as a deputy mayor and what that involves. And I really like that, Danielle, that somebody could aspire to that, and we need to know what do I need to do to get there, and having those clear roles and responsibilities for council as well as for deputy mayor, I think would be really helpful as a package when, again, one of the goals was to how we can attract the best people for the job. It's really important to give the people the information about what that job is and what the compensation is around that role, and what challenges might arise from that when it comes to timing, times of meetings. And, if it's a single mom that wants to apply or wants to run as council, what does that look like for her, or a single dad? What kind of hours and compensation are going to be involved in that? And attracting really good people is part of, I think, what the city would like to do. So I think that all ties in with that comment we made about having specific criteria around roles and responsibilities.
Kelly, I just want to ask Wendy, if in the event that the mayor had to step away from the office, whoever he or she may be, does the deputy mayor automatically assume that role until the mayor is capable of coming back, or is that a decision of council? I've been thinking back a few years ago, the kerfuffle that happened in Toronto, where you had the mayor wasn't fit for office, and the deputy mayor took over and ran things in the city of Toronto for a few years.
I'd have to look at some of our policies just to double check on that, because also the CAO has some roles as well but politically, like for chairing meetings, attending events, doing the role of the mayor as the head of council, that would automatically run over to the deputy mayor. The day-to-day administration of the mayor's office, so to speak, I would need to look into that, because I think that's a little bit different to see what would happen with that, because I'd want to do a bit of research before I provide a full response. But for as the head of council, going to events, signing proclamations, signing bylaws, all that kind of signing agreements, the things that the mayor does in his role that way, yes, the deputy mayor could definitely step in and do that. But for any of the day-to-day administration, I'd want to look into that part of it a bit more.
Thanks.
Anybody else have any ideas or comments? Or we're still talking about the compensation piece, Chris. We can continue on and review that again as it comes up. If everybody's had an opportunity to look at the criteria that was presented for the other like cities and organizations that on that spreadsheet, if there's anything that pops up or something that you want to review again, we can certainly address that again at the next meeting, review what we've agreed upon, and talk about, I think, Brian, at our next meeting, we'll have some information for the compensation piece on the benefits. So yeah, good. Yeah, that's good. So that'll be a good thing for us to review as well at our next meeting. Is there any other items that are outstanding from anybody?
No, I think the information that Brian's gonna, in this day and age, I think benefits to anybody are like gold compared to salary. Like as people get older and stuff like that, people need benefits all the time, and they're such a saving grace.
Brian?
I did note, I don't know if the rest of the committee noted that on the spreadsheet, the like OMERS was a benefit for the mayor for all the other mayors, but not for ours. Whereas OMERS for the councillors was kind of split. So Wendy, I'm not sure it didn't really, I'm not sure the mandate of the committee specified pension. It could be considered a benefit. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's something the
Mhm.
committee wants to look at, but we were the only city where the full-time mayor was not enrolled in the OMERS pension plan. So I don't know if that's just something maybe the committee might want to discuss.
Brian, would that be through the mayor's own choice, or is that through OMER's choice?
No, that's actually like like we tell OMERS what our policy is on membership into the pension plan, and it wouldn't be that the mayor said, "Oh, I'm offered it and I don't want it." It's kind of like a policy decision as opposed to individual choice.
Thanks.
That's great, Brian. Thank you. We can certainly, I'm not sure what the committee's feeling is on thinking about that as an option for extra benefit, whether it be for mayor as well as council. I'm not sure the cost tied to that and how we would evaluate that.
I was just about to ask, what is what's the process and the cost associated with that approximately?
There's a number of tiers of salary, it's 9% of the YMPE, which it's somewhere around 60,000, and then there's 14% on earnings above that. So I can get you exact numbers, but just roundabout, that's kind of the structure of the OMERS. So that's taken from the salary of the employee or the staff member, and then the employer matches that amount.
Okay, so this is he would need to contribute 9 and then 14%, and then we, the city, would also do 9 and 14%. And are those flat percentages? Like, could I do like 5% if I wanted to, or are those it's either that or nothing?
It's a program it works the same for everybody. And then there's a formula about how much pension, like what your pension in the end will be once you retire, based on years of service, best 5 years of earnings, that kind of thing. But
that's a lot. That's a healthy pension. Like in terms of contributions, that's healthy. Yep.
It's a defined benefit. It's a defined benefit
Yeah.
pension plan. So
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are expensive.
Yes, they are. Yep.
So the city still works, OMERS is still defined benefit, eh? It's not, wow.
Defined contribution, no, defined benefit.
So yeah, it just doing the light math in my head, based on a $40,000, if it's 10%, be like, $3,500 out of pocket for a counselor, and then the city would match that. Is that right? Just saying approximately, is at a time, just rounding it up to 10% for ease of my brain.
The YMPE is 61,500 for this year. It goes up again next year. And if Brian was saying that 9% is the contributory rate. So I missed what you were mentioning about the 14% though, Brian.
Anything above the 60.
Sorry, above the YMPA, it's 14%. Like their
income.
Yeah, their income. Yeah, so it gets so that there's different tiers, and then there's another
split level. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I can get you exact numbers if you want. I'm just throwing out the percentages.
That would be nice.
Pre-tax.
Yeah.
Pre-tax
Sorry?
dollars? Sorry, go ahead.
Pre-tax.
Yeah. I find that a lot.
Yeah.
OMERS is one of the best pensions
Yeah.
in the country. Yeah.
Yeah, you pay for it. You pay for it right now, but it definitely pays off later.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the best ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
Sorry, and if we implemented OMERS, would it be mandatory participation for everyone?
Yeah.
You can implement it for just the mayor if you like, and you can implement it for council members, but it has to be mandatory for the group of, like, it's not really a choice. It's like, if you implement it for the councilors, it's all the councilors. So.
Is that an option that we can discuss?
I think we should get more information around it. Do you guys think to?
Sorry, my mistake. I keep forgetting that the counselors are part-time. Right now, there's a choice to join if you're part-time, although that changes in 2023. But until 2023, it's optional if you're non full-time. But if you're full-time, then it's per group, and it's kind of you have to belong to it if that's the decision.
I think it would be great just to have that information just to talk about as an option.
Sure.
Perhaps for our next meeting, Brian, or if that's not too hard to pull up.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Were there any other items that anybody had that were outstanding? Wendy?
What I was going to do for the next meeting is I'll make a list of what you guys have considered. Brian will bring back his the benefits and the OMERS information, as well as just some items related to some of the stuff that was in the survey. Because I think some of the stuff you said that, like, because members of council said they were okay with their expense amounts and things like that. So I just want to get confirmation from the committee that, you know, the current expense amounts and everything will remain the same. So that will help us build that staff report for your review. So I just want to go through the list and just get confirmation on things so that we have a solid list going forward, so that we can kind of get moving on. I can get moving on the staff report for you guys.
Thanks, Wendy. What's your timeline, Wendy, that you want this to go back to council?
Given, unfortunately, I'm sorry that we had to delay the December meeting by a couple weeks, just given that I didn't have any information to provide to you a couple weeks ago, and thank goodness to Kingston that they were doing the exact same survey that we were, so we were able to steal their information. I'm hoping to have, what I might do is, because our next meeting's I think towards the end of January, I might start building the staff report before that, with some of the information, and then maybe we can just build in the recommendations and start like working on that staff report, in addition to Brian bringing forward the information that you've requested regarding the benefits and the OMERS.
So you're thinking maybe perhaps this is going back to council in February? Is that your goal?
I would say probably the beginning of March, because the meetings in February are kind of sporadic. We have like a break in February because of Family Day. So I would want to give the committee at least the January and February meetings if necessary. So I was thinking more March. Nominations open in May. So I need to get this information finalized by May. So I'm hoping that if we can, or I'll squeeze a couple extra meetings in so that we could get to the end of February. But we'll see where we are in January. I'm going to work on the report hopefully during the holidays a little bit, and maybe if I can get it circulated in advance to the committee before the next meeting, you guys can have some comments on it, and then that will further the discussion before our next meeting.
And I believe our next meeting was scheduled for January 7th, if I'm correct.
Okay, then I got a lot of work to do before January 7th.
January 7th at 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Wendy.
Okay.
And if nobody has anything else to put on the table,
Nope.
I can call for adjournment.
Sure, I'll move it.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. So we'll see you in January.
Happy New Year.
Okay, Happy New
Yeah.
Year, Merry Christmas.
Merry
Merry
Christmas,
Christmas.
Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, all that good stuff. Okay,
Okay.
bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.